Here, July the 2nd, Let Freedom Ring, right before the 4th of July weekend, I suppose. Tuesday's 4th of July. Can't wait to see what these guys can bring to the table. We got 3 ghosts in on tonight to help track marshal. Tommy P will be on the button tonight as we continue racing. I'm going to go to the Racers Live here and see if they're ready to go. Racers, are you ready to go? All right, watch your lights. Everybody take a step back from the controller station so you can see good. And Tommy P will be on the button. He'll be the one hitting the button. Everybody that's on deck, remember this, racers, if you're on deck, you'll be in control of the button. Only hit the button if they're under the bridge or on the backstretch. All right, watch your lights. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Low Key Jackson, also known as Action Jackson. I guess you're pretty excited here tonight, getting ready to race in the Rookie Rumble here later on, 7 o'clock. As we get going racing here right now, we're going to start seeing those ghosts drop all the way to the bottom. And we're going to see Guillermo out in the front right now with a 4.2. Man, that's a blistering speed. But now his best lap at a 3.570. As we get a track call there in the back, Tommy P quick to grab that car there. Probably be best if Randy Kirtley moved towards the outside there of the donut, more closer over there with, maybe he's just trying to get from underneath the bridge. Who knows? We'll see what happens here as we continue on here. 4 minutes and 35 seconds left to go in the heat. As you guys know, this is LMP Thunder. These are 5-minute long heats. The place here is a stormy outside, but it's calming down as the minutes progress. Perfect for a Thunder Series race, and literally, we've been hearing Thunder here in McLean County for the past couple days. We get a couple of bridge shots there as we see Tom Payton quick on the button to hit it, doing a perfect job track marshaling. Randy Kirtley going to get those cars put back on. Tom Payton going to be on that button, doing well. Tom Payton taking control over the horseshoe portion of the track. Also here at Lanes Raceway, we have a new pinball tournament rolling all month long. So come and check that out here at Lanes Raceway. It started today. It was supposed to start yesterday, but got caught up yesterday in Bowling Green. I'm going to actually change over the lights now while I've got a chance. I don't want these guys getting confused with the flashing lights. So we're going to change those over to a standard color. There we go. That should help the racers out and not be so confused by the lights. Sometimes I forget to do that, and it kind of messes with people, especially when they go underneath the track, and there's a lot of issues going on there. It looks like Paul Woosley was able to capitalize on getting his car put back in the green lane there. Did it quite quick without a track call. Tom Payton was quick to hit that track call if need be. Randy Kirtley there, grabbing the cars, getting them put back on. Everybody running quite smooth here. Gilbert Curley with 31 laps. He's out in the lead right now under orange. Hopefully everybody's being careful, sticking their arms underneath the track, because our LEDs are down there, and those are exposed glass LEDs, so they will cut you, folks. That's why we want to do a track call every time a car comes off under the bridge. We get the blue car of Jay Latham put back on. That's a fresh new body from JK. That's a Porsche. Get these cars put back on in a timely fashion. Looking good as we get a hard hit. What sounds to be up underneath the bridge there. Looks like maybe Guillermo offside of his car there is, it was a wide open hit there. Guillermo's going to get put back in there, and he's got 35 laps, but I think this will get him back to his 36 like he was. I think he jumped off the track and got on somebody else and got sailed off into the dead man's corner. Dead Man's Corner a lot more brutal now that it is kind of laid back down, so it's a solid wall hit instead of a turned over wall hit with an opposite cant. So, you know, you can come off, sell it up in there and really tear a car up now. But at the same aspect, you can also handle those cars a lot better coming up underneath the bridge. These cars stop, brake, and do everything better now underneath Dead Man's Corner. We see Guillermo reaching out there on purple lane to try to get that car put back on, but it kind of found its own way. Jay Latham coming off there on the horseshoes. We see Guillermo work diligently with his car to get it put back on, and he does it in a time-like fashion. No track call needed. Gabriel Kirtley out in the lead there on orange lane, and we can see that his car is flat flying as he comes around the backstretch, underneath around the donut, through the S-turns, back around the backstretch. So he comes to reel in another victim here down on yellow, Glenn Burton, and he does so in a timely fashion, coming around there, only one to miss out on the two there on the backstretch, as Guillermo Sauer had to check up there because Jay Latham's car kind of got a little squirrely coming out of the horseshoe. Gabriel Kirtley definitely dodging a lot of wrecks here, as orange might be the best lane to start on the orange track, as he's running neck and neck there yet again with Glenn Burton. And he's able to make the pass. Glenn Burton kind of checking up there on the horseshoes. He tries to reel in the green car, Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley got his car worked on a little bit, and now that baby's back in true form. As you can see, that car handles, baby. Going through that S-turn, Gabriel just cannot catch him or get in front of him. We got an under-the-bridge call here. Paul and Gabriel both make the risky move to go through, as we can see them both coming to a stop there in the S-turns. The S-turns there, you can see Tom Payton kind of staring at them, as he knows those are two of the guys he's going to have to battle when he comes back in off deck. And these dudes are flat hauling the mail, ladies and gentlemen. Gabriel Kirtley out of the gate, jolting it through there. Oh, as Gabriel Kirtley gets involved with Jay Latham coming off, as we get another track call there by Tom Payton, doing an excellent job on the track call button. I mean, I'll tell you what, I just can't say enough good things about old Tom. Since he's been here, man, he has just been a soaker of knowledge, like a sponge. But he's hitting the track call button like he should, keeping this race going nice and flowing. Exactly what you would want to see in a young man learning things. And, man, when it comes to slot car racing, he's a force to be reckoned with. I'm excited to see what he's going to do tonight, whether he's going to run Lotus or if he's going to run the Mazzetti. Either way, I think he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's going to be fighting for those upper positions. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, this will be, I think, his third race here tonight. We'll check on that here in about 30 seconds for sure. But I think both other races he's ran, he has won. He's able to conquer over Randy Kirtley. All these guys got teched around about the same time here in the shop, all of them 105 grams or more here before we started the race. So good equal racing, anywhere from a 7 to a 14 tooth pinion, anywhere from a 32 to a 42 spur gear in the rear. All three 32nd axle stuff. Some of these guys running hollow axles, taking a risk. Some of these guys running D7 axles. Some of the guys just running standard slitted axles. And some of them just running regular old hardened circle axles. But it's all just depending on what the guys want to run. Some of the guys actually now, I think Glenn Burton told me earlier this week, him and Randy looked at his car and actually took some guide flag washers up underneath his guide flag out. This could spell perfect balance, which it has been so far, what I've seen out of Glenn. But you know, we're seeing him handle a lot better. But whenever he gets up in them higher lanes, it's going to be questionable what could take place. I don't know. But if Randy Kirtley says do it, you know. Like I said, these cars sometimes have to be blipped. But a lot of times guys can make it by with a lower profile body and keep it down low. As we see the car of David Horton's kind of flop out there a little bit. And, or I'm sorry, Jay Latham's flop out there a little bit and cause a little bit of an incident there. Or no, that was Gabriel. That was Gabriel Kirtley. Jay Latham's running the yellow car tonight. The little white car I thought was a Porsche, but that's actually a Mercedes-Benz. That was Gabriel Kirtley trying to be a little too aggressive through the S-turns. We see him in the neon green hat there go to work on it. Him and Paul Woosley setting up somewhat of a battle amongst each other there. 79 laps to 84, both of them running somewhat of a high lanes there. Of course, Paul Woosley there with the sharper inlay turn there. By Dead Man's Corner. A little bit harder to keep running successfully fast. But we see Guillermo there with 73 laps down there on purple, having a little bit of issues there, but he got his car back on in a timely fashion right there with Glenn Burton. Jay Latham there at the back with his new body, probably trying to get used to it, was 70. But, I mean, like I said, we're within 14 laps from the front to the back there. Going to leave you guys here for a few minutes in our current LMP Thunder Series. As we can see, Gabriel Curley there with 2 races, Guillermo Sire with 2 races. We'll see where they develop after this second race to see where they stack up with everybody else. Of course, Jay Latham and Tom Payton there, they're going to get an extra race here. Amani ended up having to leave a little bit early because of the storm that was rolling through. So definitely send prayers out there for Amani and wish him a safe return home. Of course, I know we have been. Minute and 25 seconds. We'll be going back green, and I'll see you soon. All right, and we're back racing. We see Gabriel Kirtley there out in the lead still, but Paul Woosley right on his hips there with 5 laps down. Guillermo Sire there in 3rd place, like I said, having a little bit of an issue there early on. But right now it looks like he's picking it up and making things happen. 78 laps, total turn 5 so far, but Paul Woosley's out in the lead right now, turning a total of 7 as he goes to chase down Gabriel Kirtley there on white lane. Will Gabriel Kirtley there be able to hold off Paul Woosley there on blue? It's going to be definitely a question, and it's going to have to be raised. Paul Woosley, it seems like when he's on, and he's always running up there with the best of them. So I don't know. I know Paul Woosley's hungry. He wants to take down Randy Kirtley pretty bad. And with the way that he's racing tonight, as long as everything holds up, he's definitely going to have a chance to do so. Catching Gabriel Kirtley, though, he's got racing in his blood for sure. He is my brother, and, you know, I mean, I've always rooted for him. I can't help it. He's my brother. He's blood, you know. But I will say this. He can definitely be taken down, too. I've seen it happen. I've actually beat him a couple times myself, but when he puts his mind to it, he is definitely hard to get. As we see Guillermo Sire's car coming off there on black lane, he quickly gets his car put back on. Even though it's quite warm outside right now, here in Lanes Raceway, it feels like it's starting to cool down a little bit. Guys are in here trying to watch the NASCAR race and stuff that's going on. Now, this could be an issue here at the bottom side of the high banks there. Not necessarily if there's an issue with Guillermo Sire's car, but most likely he just doesn't have enough washers underneath his guide flag. He's running it as low as he possibly can, and therefore the cutout inside of the high banks there is just a little deep. So a lot of times how we would negate this is we would tuck the right tire into that slot, and that helps it get connection and go. But anyways, he moved himself a little bit down the way, and he was able to fix that too. So we see Paul Woosley getting involved in an incident there with Jay Latham's Porsche, and a quick track call there done by Randy Kirtley. As we now only have 2 track marshals here. We know it is possible to do 2 track marshals if they're doing their job correctly, as me and my wife done it Thursday. It is possible to do it. The racers just have to keep that in mind. We also see Tom Payton in there right now running 14 laps there on red, and it looks like he's coming in today with a Lotus and opted to keep old Mozzie in the garage. Getting a little bit wound there through the S-turns. Everything today has been glued. I actually glued it a little bit more than I usually do. So I glued it here. We see also the car of Guillermo Sires coming off there on Black Lane. We've seen the same issue happen with Paul Woosley earlier. But I glued it there. I glued it in our normal spot here. But this time I kind of glued it right here in this crevice here to more help people get used to the rhythm here in the S-turn to make sure that they aren't off and letting that car coast through here. And then I also put some glue right here to help carry some glue around the donut here so that people can stay on and carry their speed a little bit more. So plenty of glue on the track to keep these guys in. Like I said, I want these guys to stay on. I want them to race hard. And we see what looks to be Randy Kirtley there with the hooks of life grabbing Guillermo Sires' car there. Of course, all of our racers get 30 seconds to roll here. Now that is dictative of who is on the track call button, which is Randy Kirtley here right now. He'll be coming in on red next heat. And like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we seen Randy Kirtley. He was about the only one that track marshaled correctly. So I can say with a good amount of certainty here, this is the way you want it. We don't want the guys holding the track call button because that keeps them from having dexterity of putting multiple cars on, because if you got two hands free, you can put two cars on. This is possible. It takes a little bit of skill and a little bit of want to, but it is possible to do so. We see Tom Payton getting caught up there in the S-turn again, along with Jay Latham getting caught up in the horseshoe. Randy Kirtley gets him on really quick. And the old adage still is true to this day that if you don't track marshal good, you didn't really win. You know, you cheated people. So Randy Kirtley definitely giving it everything he's got. As we see Glenn Burton putting his own car on orange, not even making a track call. But it is possible to do so. You can call track call as long as it's past this line here on the horseshoe. So if any cars are this way, you can call a track call. Same thing is you get a track call anytime that they're under the bridge. Usually the guys just yell bridge or yell track, and then you get a track call. So we got an under the bridge call there. Randy Kirtley making a check to see if it was close enough to him before doing that. That's what you want to do. That's what I want all of our track marshals to do. Take a quick glance, because it might be right there in your hands to be able to get it instead of having to jam your hand under. But if not, hit the track call button. It's pretty easy. Hopefully he didn't get caught there on his elbow. Looks like he's rubbing his elbow there. Hopefully he didn't get no LED action getting him on his elbow. Maybe in the future might get some silicone-lined LEDs for the track, especially up underneath the bridge and stuff like that. We get a track call for a car stalled out on the back portion of the track here. We see Guillermo Sire going to grab that car and put it back on white. That car being Gabriel Kirtley, currently 6 laps ahead of Paul Woosley. So that track call was done efficiently, and like I said, if people could take a good look there at Randy Kirtley and see, hey, this is how you track marshal, and I think so, as he's doing really a great job so far. Action Jackson says, what do you think of this race so far? Well, so far I think Gabriel Kirtley is definitely very consistent there on white lane. As we can see, he likes to dive bomb that car, and he's really running that car quite aggressive. If you just follow him there on white lane, you'll see how aggressive he pushes it up underneath the track. But it's all about trigger control and how he gasses back around that donut. I always suggest anybody learning how to race, always follow the fastest racer to see how they handle their car. And we can see he's very, very quick off and on the trigger there. That's how he's able to make it around that S-turn so quick, and very few incidents take place. Gabriel Kirtley actually making it through that debacle there, but between those 3 cars there, they were all bunched up there. Who's to know who actually caused that incident or not? But most likely it probably was a little bit of everybody getting involved in that. But they were running quite tight, I will say that. You see David Horton there looking at the car of Paul Woosley there on blue lane. When they come around that High Banks corner there, it is very, very aggressive. The cars either plant really hard and stick to the track, or if you can kind of see it from this view up here, you can kind of see the wear marks, how that they kind of go up and then back down and like that. It kind of makes a curve like that. Let me see if I can do that without the circle there. So they kind of come up and then they kind of curve down. So when that back end of the car you know, here's the car. That back end's going to flick out and over like this. Well, when it does, if you're on this upper lane here, you know, that back end can, if this guy is in front of you, let's say the car's here, that back end can hit this guy if he's already in about this portion right here. So you just really got to watch it when you're getting really close to people, because that wobble will cause people to come off and have pretty big wrecks. So we see Randy Kirtley trying his best to get Paul Woosley on. He gets him on there good. There on green lane. Oh, blue lane, I'm sorry. Green car, blue lane. We got an under the bridge on this side. That's a track call button. And you can kind of see where the punishment takes place here when they call bridge. Like, it does take a little bit of time from them. So you definitely want to get at least that corner down, because you don't want to have to say bridge. Why is Tom so many laps behind? Well, Tom currently is just now came in. This is his first heat in. He had to set 2 heats out, and he was on deck. So there's 3 people usually setting out. Well, 2 people usually setting out, sometimes 3. Well, Tom was a part of the first group where he had to set a couple of those heats out. Therefore, that's why he's just now getting 56 laps. So he's on his first heat. We'll take a look at that here in about 50 seconds when we can take a look at the track mate, and you'll be able to tell that he's probably running pretty good if we was to compare him with other people. 59 seconds left to go. Best lap of 3.6 or 3.9 is his median. As we can see there, 3.9 and 3.8 is usually the average. Well, that's the deal whenever you're down low or on a middle lane is the 3.8. Well, he's running the 3.9 on red, so that tells me he's running pretty quick as long as he can keep the car in there, and he's being aggressive coming out of the horseshoe. So you're watching, he's probably full throttle right here along this line here. So he's starting right here to get full throttle through. And now that's a gradual full throttle. So, you know, he starts off and he gradually goes to full throttle. That way that the back end kind of locks in. And we got one under the bridge. Randy Kirtley's able to get it. We need a track call as we get another one. Looks to be Jay Latham coming off there. But yeah, I mean, most of the times, guys, especially when they're on the inside lanes, you can see them here with that green car here of Paul Woosley. That's about where they get full throttle. Gabriel Kirtley still currently leading as he's made about 3 or 4 more laps up on Paul Woosley just this heat alone. And we got another track call there. So a lot of under the bridge calls being made. 10 seconds left to go. We're in our second heat, making pretty good time here. As we started at 5:30 and we're already almost through our second heat here. Of course, we'll have to go 11 heats. But that's 5 minutes on and 3 minutes off, so you're looking at 8 minutes total, and yeah, pretty good time. Means out of the 2 heats, we've only probably sacrificed about 13 or 14 minutes. We see that white car, Gabriel, how much more he dived down there on white lane. That's where he's getting it. He's getting a whole lot more diving done there on white lane, but as soon as the car goes to kick out, he's back in the gas. He trusts the tires to grip. So now we can see here, we'll look at the red lane of Tom Payton. Of course, he's the first one to ever come in, but he's run 72 laps there. We can see there he's running really good because 72 laps will be made there on black, which is the inverse of red lane. So like I said, Tom's going to be somewhat of a force to be reckoned with. And you know, Guillermo, he's one of those guys that runs pretty quick too. So if you can run 72 laps, like I said, there on red, it's going to be a tough one to go. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, running 83 laps there on white lane, and he's now going to go to red lane, or actually he's going to come out for 3 heats, and then he'll go to red lane. So, but so far, Gabriel Kirtley running in the 80s. This is about what you see when people win the race. They run in the 80s predominantly. But we'll go ahead and we'll leave you now with our pinball scores. I'm sure there's been people come in here and give it a go since our first race, and you can kind of keep up to date with that. Looks like Big Daddy's holding it down on Godzilla and Iron Maiden so far. Iron Maiden be the new addition to our tournament this month. We see Floppy holding it down on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Mandalorian. So keep an eye on those and see if they'll be able to hold those off for the remainder of the month. But what I can see so far, these scores are just a little bit low. You know, Godzilla there decent score, 155 million. That might get 5th place possibly. But Mandalorian here at 60 million, that's going to get hurt up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles usually finishes somewhere around 28 to 34 million. Is usually what people end up getting for first place. Minute and 16 seconds, and I'll be right back with you. All right. Got a new person in the chat. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Senna Peace? I don't know. Centerpiece. Is that right? Centerpiece? Hello, Don. Well, hello to you, too. Synapsis? Okay. All right. Synapsis. All right. I'm guessing that's you? All right, everybody. For those that don't know, what synapsis is Carson. So hello, Carson. Also known as Synapsis. That's a good name for a racing group, actually. We see David Horton there. Double tap the button there. Hopefully he can get to it quick. Sorry about that, David. So that was me that hit it again. Came up with it myself. Well, I like it. Synapsis. That should be your race group name instead of Red Bull, because I like that name better than Red Bull. So Synapsis Racing. There you go. It's a good name for your GRC racing group. David Horton, you mind none. You're doing a fine job out there keeping these guys on. David Horton, of course, he's been running a Porsche body on his. And of course, he's on deck. So he'll be coming back in on red lane like Randy Kirtley. So just like before, Jackson, you can see that Randy's got a low score now. Well, that's because he's just now getting into the race. So David Horton will be coming in with a low score in comparison to first and second, too. As we see Randy Kirtley putting Jay Latham back on black. I will say this, I do like the DHL yellow body that Jay's got on his car there. That's Porsche, I believe. It's Jay Latham sends Paul Woosley down the backstretch, actually involving Randy Kirtley there up on red lane, too. Randy Kirtley quick to get his car put back on as Paul Woosley gets a pretty good boot down the back up on his lid. Paul Woosley here aggressively there on purple lane. Played a bit of laps in front of Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire 171, Glenn Burton 169. Yet again, Glenn Burton and Jay Latham somewhat in a battle this week. We'll get another track call there and a little bit of a leak out there on Tom Payton's lane as Tom Payton moves the car from his lane back to Jay Latham's. So a little bit more aggression taking place here through the horseshoes, we can see. Guys just getting into it a little bit too much, having their cars come out like that. So if you're back in the throttle anywhere from this point back and that's on all lanes. So, you know, if you're any of these lanes from that point back, that right there is going to take place every time. If your wires are up underneath of your chassis, that's going to happen. So where you want to start getting back in the throttle is about right here. So when your cars are coming around here, you want to start, you know, let your car kind of coast through to this point, and then start getting back into trigger to full throttle right along that line right here. And that'll keep you from jumping out like that. But what's happening is people just doing it just a little too early, and the reason they do it is because the rhythm gets off here in the rhythm section of the track, and where they're not letting their car kind of coast through up into here. And if you get this hump off, then you get this hump off. And if you're off there, then of course you get off here. Now sometimes you can make it through when you get the rhythm off in these two humps here, but sometimes you can't. And if you can't, then you aggressively hit it too much and cause your car to come off there. So that's why I stress, like, if you're going to practice on any track, no matter what that may be, the best track to practice on is the orange, because it's got more difficult turns into it, more harsh apexes and stuff. Now the issue I see a lot of the times is guys want to keep up with the faster racers that have already learned that rhythm, and a lot of times they just push their cars just a little too much. Just remember this, never drive your car past what the tires can do, and that's in any kind of racing. So, you know, what seems to be slow, 99.9% of the time is fast. It's all about just keeping your car in a straight line. If you can keep the car in a straight line and not have it come around or push too much, you're good to go. See David Horton getting the car put back on the white lane. That's Glenn Burden's car. Running 45 laps this time. Pretty close there with Jay Latham running 47. Tom Payton running 51, and Randy Kirtley running 55. Randy Kirtley and Guillermo Sire out there right now running the most laps, but very, very close behind them, Paul Woosley, as Paul Woosley is stepping up his game this series for sure. Having a lot of car trouble. Reminds me a lot of Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley in our first series when we were holding our Fairview IT Cup Series race. It was just like, man, week after week, when they run really good up front at the very beginning, they would have some issues, and you know, sometimes wasn't able to work it out. But as we can see right now, you know, Paul Woosley definitely going pretty fast. We see Guillermo Sire's car come all the way up from yellow to black lane, as he missed the judgment call there in the rumble strips. I'm gonna help the guys out here if I can. Oh, no. That just shows you how nimble that David Horton is. He got to that button quicker than I can move my mouse over there. So that's what we call a time-like fashion. And I'm happy to say I'm pleased with David and how quick he moved to do that. That shows you that David definitely does care about track marshaling well. As he goes to get that button, this is perfect. I mean, what a track marshal. Honesty is definitely key here, and being a good track marshal is being quick as you can for the guys, you know. Almost like being a soldier in a platoon, I guess. You know, you're always looking out for everybody else's interest over yourself. Never was a soldier myself, but that's what I always hear. We get several guys here getting involved in an incident there. It looks like Jay Latham and Paul Woosley's car getting involved in an incident. That's why we're having quite a few incidents on the come-off here through the S-turns here. So just a little bit too much acceleration, aggression coming out here. A lot of cars just straight coming out right here where they can't hold it coming around the corner. And the reason why is because they're not letting off in about this area here, just like a tiny blip. You just want to do a tiny blip about right there on that line. If you do a tiny blip about right there, let your car settle back flat, then you'll get a nice even coast through about right here, and then you want to start accelerating back through. And if you can do that, you can run a very, very fast horseshoe portion of the track. I would say it's won and lost on the entry and the exit of this track. Now, knowing the S-turns, yeah, that's a big deal too, but I just don't think it's as much as knowing when to get back in the trigger coming around the backstretch, getting your car up to speed. Because me and my brother actually talked about this yesterday. The only way that you're going to turn a fast lap is if you were had a fast lap the previous lap. So the thing is, it's all about setting up for that next lap, keeping that car straight, rolling through hard, nice good transitions. As we see 3 cars in there together, Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burden on white, and I think Tom Payton there on green. So we see now coming in David Horton after he did a exceptional job track marshaling. We can also kind of see a comparison here. So Randy Kirtley, very, very fast. He loves the red lane, folks. His red and his white lanes are almost unsurpassed, but we can see Gabriel Kirtley turning a nice 83 laps there too. So we see how close these guys run together. They run really hyper aggressive. They know exactly what the car is doing, almost seeing it in slow motion. Everybody has this capability in them, but they got to start slow. So you start slow, and then you see, just focus on one corner at a time, and then just practice that corner. Everything else, don't worry about going fast. You got to learn a corner at a time. Once you get that corner down to where you dive it as hard as you can, and you get that rhythm down to where you can take it as fast as you possibly can, move to the next corner, and then chain those two together. Once you get done to that second corner as fast as you can go without coming out, move to the third corner, and so on and so forth. This is how the pros do it. The pros take it one corner at a time. It's all about corners. Once you get those corner apex down to as fast as you can go to where you're running with the fastest in the world, then, you know, you've already learned your consistency. You know, you don't have to worry about being consistent because you started from 1 and you ended with 8, right? 8 turns, 9 turns, whatever it may be. So your consistency is already there, and all you're doing is building upon that consistency. So on this racetrack, where you'd want to learn your consistency is start with this corner. How deep can you drive it in this corner? How deep can you go before you have to let off, you know? I mean, some people let off like right here. And when they let off, you know, that car's going to come and it's going to kick the back end around. Well, when that car comes to kick that back end around, and it, you know, and it slaps that back end out like that, right whenever that back end comes around and lines up to where it's straight with that corner, that's when you want to get into power so that those back wheels start turning. And when they start turning, then you'll start moving forward, and you'll actually make the car what is known as push. In other words, when you're in the gas, the car don't turn. When you're in the brake, the car don't turn. But when you're letting off, the car is able to turn. And a lot of people don't understand that. So once the car turns with you being let off, then that's when you want to get back in the gas as soon as possible so that you can carry that speed. So, you know, you got a nice good coast, hard brake, let off, let the back end spin around, straighten up, get back in the gas, let off again, you know, let the car settle, and then kind of ease your way through. You know, that's just kind of a beginner's course of this track. But all tracks are pretty much relatively close to what this orange is. The orange is just, you know, a smaller version of the bigger tracks. Some of the bigger tracks you have, like Blue Kings and Purple Miles and stuff like that. They have other sections too. It's kind of similar to the donut, but they're more extended. So like when they come out, like the donut there where it comes out, you know, like a Blue King would have one that would come out like this and then come back around like that, you know. That's about the only thing that this yellow or orange track doesn't have. Is a corner similar to like a Blue King, but you can kind of get that same feel from this corner right here. So I mean, you're getting the same kind of feel from that. So on Dead Man's Corner. So orange track, man. If you can run an orange track, you can run any of the AMC tracks. You know, whether it be a black, purple, orange, blue, even a red track, a yellow track, whatever it may be. Yes, I see that, Synapsis. That is the main crash point, is under the bridge. People want to drive it deep, but then they don't want to get back on the gas. See, you can drive it deep with everybody, but if you don't get back in the gas, then you don't grip back up. The whole point is you got to grip back up. So if you're not used to that slapping of the rear end and you can't kind of see those cars in slow motion, you're better off braking sooner and then driving your car through the corner. To keep your car on, because if you come off, you lose more time than if you just kept it on and took it easier. Perfect example of a racer that learned this and is now starting to drive his car deeper because he's starting to learn the process. I'd have to give that award to Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington, you know, pretty strong runner when it comes to the oval track. Man, my nose is straight itching up in here. But I will tell you this, he had a rough go of it starting out on the orange, but he's never really been horrible at the orange. He wouldn't dive bomb, so he would slow down back here, and then he would kind of let his car come to speed, and then he would kind of drive it through here. Now I see that a lot with people. They'll drive it through and they'll hold a decent pace through here when they're practicing, which is fine. But you always want, you know, after you break here, you want to start, see if you can break here the next lap. See if you can break here the next lap. See if you can break here the next lap. See if you can break here the next lap. So on and so forth, until you finally come to a point to where I can no longer take it any deeper without wrecking. But once you get to that point, then it's like, all right, I know I can drive it that deep. Now I need to get a little bit deeper to match with everybody else. So you drive it this deep, but now your car's going to kick hard right here underneath the bridge. It's going to slap out. So when it slaps out, like a drift, essentially, and that back end kicks out, well, once it gets straight and it's like that, you need to gas back on it before you let it kick out and then spin all the way around, because that's what will happen with inertia. It's just going to pull that inertia and it's going to spin around in a circle. So instead, when it reaches that half mark and it snaps like that, that's about how fast it snaps. Well, once it gets to that point, you need to get back in the gas, and it's all about your perception of that and eyeballing it. But once you get it down, you'll be really fast up underneath this corner, because you'll catch it right there on that line. I know I'm trying to explain it several different ways here, but that's how important it is to be fast on this track. That is the most important portion of that track, is Dead Man's Corner. Driving it deep, that way you can set up your car for the donut. Once you set that car up for the donut, it's all about carrying that speed through the donut. And the guys that know, they know. Like, watch Paul Woosley here on Black Lane. If we see him there on Black Lane, he's coming around now, and he's driving it deep. You've seen him drive it deep there, folks. Now watch him do it again. Drives it deep, and he's slapping that back end up against that wall. Now the guy there on the inside right here, the one that just wrecked, he tried to do the same thing as Paul, but he didn't gas back in it about this area. And if you don't, then you're just going to keep spinning on out. You know, that's what's going to happen. But he'll gas it all the way through here, and whenever the car slaps about right there, he's gassing it, folks. And that's what keeps him from spinning out. I wish we could get a zoomed in version of this. We might be able to. Let me see if I can work on that. We'll zoom in on that. So, let's see here. I'm gonna have to do some alterations here. This may screw your stuff up for a second, but we'll get right back with it. Okay. Let's get this. 1 second here. Gotta find where I can turn that off. There we go. Okay, so now we got a zoomed in version of watching these cars. Let's see if we can even get even closer. Let me try that. Okay, now I know this is stretched out, but you can kind of see these cars, how that they're coming in, right? Oops. Now they're coming in right through here, okay? Now, when the back ends are flicking out, right? They're flicking out like that. Well, right whenever they line up with this line right here, whatever lane it's in, okay? And it's different on each lane. But when they line up there, when the back ends kick out, in other words, like, let's see, you get a square here. So a square to that portion. When it lines up with that straight, that's when you want to get back in the throttle to put some pressure on those rear tires to push your car forward. Because if you don't, it's just going to continue on around, okay? Well, once it gets to about your car looking like this, well, then the weight of the rear end back here is going to cause your car to go on and flip on out of the track. And what happens is people don't time that just right, and you'll see it here eventually, where that somebody misses their timing, and that takes place. Well, everybody should be doing the button. I got ghosted.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know where they're at, dude. We probably threw them away.
oh, we got
Well, I mean, that's the punishment. I mean, I understand that, but the thing is, it's racing. You know how it is. Well, this is the purpose, though. So, if one guy, let's say the guy that's over here on the donut portion of the track, the guy that usually puts the cars on when they crash on the donut, he's putting 2 or 3 cars on and they start wadding up there. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. If he has that button, he's going to have one hand in his pocket. I know, but if you give that button to the guy there on that side, then he's going to want to keep one hand on the button. The same reason why I've tied that to that chair. Because a lot of people are keeping that button in their hand, just using one hand to put cars on. So the whole purpose is we're trying to make this the best that we can. I understand from Gabe's point of view, but we've had similar things like this happen here over time. Once you let the track marshals have the buttons to where that they're constantly holding them, we get a whole lot more track calls being made. When we do that, it kills the rhythm of the track. We don't want to kill the rhythm. We want to keep these guys progressively getting better. And like he was saying, you know, sometimes it's not fair when they pile up like that. It isn't, but that is racing. So essentially, you know, from someone that's been doing it a while myself, that's where whenever you hear somebody say under the bridge, go under there easy because it could cost you, you know. But then other times, like I do understand where he's coming from too, with that extra button. In case somebody wrecks over here while they're trying to pile them up and put them on over here, you know, somebody can always operate that wireless button. We may have an issue here with a wire on that, but anyways, what we're going to do now is I'm going to resize this back to normal. Find it first. Okay, there we go. That's about, I think it was like that. Pretty close. Man, nailed it first try. I'm going to move this back. Oops, I want to do that. That like that. That's about right there. This down. That up. There we go. Perfect. Now we're back to normal. So Glenn Burden there, getting the car put back on for David as he's back in racing finally. David doing a pretty good job there, 62 laps total turn, but we see Paul Woolsey still out in the lead with 311 there on black, turning the lap to 71. 10 laps down from him, we look at Guillermo Sire there turning 74 on orange. Jay Latham with 63 total laps turned right now, 272. Tom Payton 219 as he makes his climb up. Randy Kirtley also making a climb up there with 160 there on green lane, his second heat in. But I hope you guys kind of understood just from that kind of zoomed in portion there, just how precise these cars have to be manipulated, because, you know, it's just kind of a mental thing. If, like for instance, RC cars, you know, they don't get that precise usually. You know, I'm not saying there ain't a guy out there that gets that precise, because there is, I'm sure. But on average, there's not. Okay, that would be like super professional, you know. But on slot car racing, the average person has to learn that, not just the professional, right? So professionals even take it one step further, and they're even able to capitalize on the way that the car's built, the way that they handle, and everything on top of all that, actually giving them even an extra advantage to push forward. So, you know, RC cars are fast, but I just don't ever see that they could be as fast as slot cars on the same amount of track, just simply because the mind doesn't have to work in as many parameters for slot car racing. See Paul Woosley there running in the 80s here tonight, running some pretty good times here. This is going to help him a lot, average of 80.2. We see Gabriel Kirtley and Randy Kirtley there, 85 and 83.5 together with them two. So yet another battle here tonight with Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley. Exciting to see how they're going to stack up. But right there on their toes, man, Paul Woosley, he's bringing it, ladies and gentlemen. He is a man on a mission. Every time he comes in here, he's wanting to move a little bit further. He's actually a guy that he's always bringing forth some wild builds. And something I've seen that might be an actual good little thing is he's got some guide wires. Instead of relying on just one guide wire, he has actually got Cat 6 cable ran from his motor to his front guide flag, which we like to leave some creativity for the guys. And if you need some Cat 6 here, we got it. So it's not like I can't get our guys Cat 6 cable. But nonetheless, it's an interesting thing. So if one of those wires breaks, he's still got 5 more rolling back to that motor mount. And it's a pretty cool little thing. Now, how long it'll last, I don't know. But so far, these past few races, that's what he's running. And it's not been too bad, especially speed-wise. And it still lets the guide flag snap back, too. So 1 minute and 11 seconds left to go. I'm going to leave you guys with the current race standings, and I'll be right back with you.
Get ready.
All right, folks. Looks like our outside microphone is going dead, so I'm going to have to try to get some batteries in that thing real quick. Working on the packaging right now. Those microphones, man, they're rough on batteries. They really do suck the life out of them for sure. But they do have some pretty good quality, I will say, especially here tonight since we're not having a whole lot of pinball guys come in. I just about cut my leg wide open, mind you. But nonetheless, they do have some pretty exceptional quality. For those who was wondering what kind of microphones we use Gym Sound. It's like the cheapest wireless microphones you can get, but that have XLR. But nonetheless, they are XLR connections, and they have a 3.5 millimeter connection also. So pretty good quality stuff. When you can use XLR, it's always better. It travels a whole lot more of a distance and stuff like that. But I'll be right back with you. Just give me 1 second. I'll be back in here. Testing. Jackson, give me a hoorah.
Hoorah!
Hopefully you guys heard a hoorah. Oh my goodness. There must be a ghost in here. The man, the myth, the legend, also known as Jordania Esquire, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th, has graced us with his presence here today. Did you hear that, Synapsis? All right, cool. Synapsis, also known as Carson. You got to do it like that, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime you mention his name, you got to do it like you're from the French vineyard, I guess, where they make their fine wines. Nonetheless, Paul Woosley out in the lead, the 349 total laps. Laps total this heat, 29, tied up with Guillermo Sire. Randy Kirtley there, 29. David Horton, 26. Tom Payton, 30 laps. He's rolling deep. He's trying to make it up there, folks. He's going to progressively try to push forward. Jay Latham there, 28 laps in 3rd place. 311 total laps made. Gabriel Kirtley getting Paul Woosley's car on yellow. So far, we've had almost a streamlined performance here. Only been in it about an hour now. We started around 5:30. I think a little bit after 5:30. And we're already almost halfway through. So this is very, very good for a 5-minute heat race. And then after this, of course, we got our Rookie Rumble, and I know the guys are excited to run in that. Gabriel Kirtley quickly getting the white car Guillermo Sire put back on. Smells like hand sanitizer in here. Gabriel Kirtley really quick about putting those cars on. He must be the son of Octopus Arms. Oh, he is. Oh, if we get a huge pile up there in the back involving Jay Latham and looks like Paul Woosley. The Guillermo Sire there on black lane. A large group of guys coming up underneath the bridge there. It's spelling disaster. But nonetheless, David Horton got his car put back on quick-like fashion. See Carson, also known as Synapsis there in your upper right hand screen up there, rolling around with Dalton. Randy Kirtley trying to pass Jay on the inside. I think both of them got involved in somewhat of an incident underneath the bridge there. When you're running deep into the bridge, no one lets off. It usually spells disaster. Minute and 50 seconds left to go in this round robin heat 5 of 11. The guy's going to have somewhat of a surprise come to him. As you guys know, it may not be a surprise to him now, as we usually do it about midway through the heat. We like to check weight on these guys. So I'm going to tell my wife there, actually. Letting her know that after this heat, we will be checking the weight of these cars, make sure everybody passes weight. If they don't, it's a 10-lap penalty, which could spell them losing tonight. That's anytime we check weight, which I plan on checking it twice tonight, this heat. And of course, the benefit when I check weight, they get an unlimited amount of time to work on their cars in the pits. So we enjoy that. But Jay Latham with his new body rolling in there in 3rd place. What a beautiful body it is. We can see that he's doing a whole lot better than he was last week. Several of the guys involved in a lot of incidents. I think the final heat that we were in there, we only had 3 people running in the race out of 8, I believe it was. So, you know, it's kind of brutal. Got a nice breezy feel. 42 seconds left to go, and a little bit of a thundercloud just popped overhead as my LED lights flashed here at Lanes Raceway. Hopefully that doesn't give us a brownout like we had one night. I had a brownout. I ended up shutting off like 4 of my TVs on one circuit, but everything else survived, which is kind of abnormal. And they didn't fully shut off. They just kind of reset. Kind of strange. But when it gets hot like this and everybody's using their air conditioner, I guess it's pretty strugglesome on the power grid. nonetheless, Paul Woosley out in the lead, followed by Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire actually turning the most laps currently right now with 77, followed by Randy Kirtley with 76. Right now it says 77, but he just passed the line. So Guillermo Sire really running some hardcore lanes there on white. It's going to be interesting to see how he stacks up against Randy and Gabriel Kirtley and Paul Woosley on the break here. 15 seconds before we go to break. Some thunder rolling in here in Livermore. Thunder coming to show itself for none other than the Thunder Series. Snap that back for you. I forgot I took that off. But that's what we're running here right now is the LMP Thunder Series. So we love to hear a little thunder while these guys are rolling thunder. So we can see Guillermo Sire there running 84 laps on white. That's the most I've seen tonight. Randy Kirtley running 83, Gabriel Kirtley running 83, 83 on red though, but 83 on white. Guillermo Sire is looking to be forced to be reckoned with these guys. We'll see if he can stack it up. It all boils down to what these guys can run on black lane. But I'm going to leave you guys this time with a little bit of pinball tournament results, and I'll be right back with you. Well, folks, I forgot yet again. As I talked to Jordan, I hadn't seen him a bit. I came right out of the gate instead of calling the guys for weigh-in, and just forgot. So we'll get them next heat. I might do them back-to-back. I don't know. We'll see. 5 minutes left to go here. Gabriel Kirtley coming in on red now as we see Guillermo Sire coming off. We're going to see Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley there trying to increase their lead. Their averages are showing that they're going to be some front runners along with Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley now with 405 total laps run. He'll be moving to white lane next, and then he'll be set now.
Get ready.
Paul Woosley right now on the best lap of 3.646. We got Gabriel Kirtley running a exceptional 3.410 there on red lane. That car is just hooking up, folks. Randy Kirtley trying to stay up with it with a 3.572. These are your top three best times. If Gabriel keeps running times like this, he's definitely going to have the lead when it comes to red lane. Kind of focus in on Gabriel Kirtley here just a little bit to see how fast he's moving. A lot is slapping that back end around. You can kind of see him slapping that back end around, but as soon as it slaps around and lines up, that's when he's gassing it, folks. That's why he's so quick. He's keeping that car straight, slapping it, keeping it straight, slapping it, and keeping it that nice and loose and rolling through. And as long as the car's gripping, you can be exceptionally quick. We see Glenn Burton there getting a little bit overwhelmed as he hits the track call button there. Several cars coming off in the S corners tonight. Maybe I should have laid some blue there inside the S corner to kind of slow these guys down a smidge. Tom Payton there in third place as he's pushing to go up. Jay Latham now in second place as we see him rushing as hard as he can to keep it up and go. Ooh, as we get a big track call by David Horton. Track, I heard. And David Horton missed it, so it's nice of him to let everybody know. So Synapsis over here chugged an entire Yoo-Hoo, and I feel proud of myself. But we do sell Yoo-Hoos here at Lanes Raceway, and some of the kids love drinking the Yoo-Hoo. Chocolate water is what I call it. It's pretty good. But it's good, you know. We see Guillermo Sire there getting those cars put back on. We see Guillermo Sire getting that car put back on black. That car is Tom Payton. Tom Payton really trying to slap that rear end around. Looks like maybe he's got a follower on his lane. Yep. So they need to hit that track call button, and Tom needs to go behind the line.
Anyway.
So he pretty much lost about 2 laps there from not seeing that. But I mean, track marshals are not focused on individual cars; they're focused on their individual portions of the track. This is not Glenn's fault, not one bit. Glenn did an exceptional job getting it within 1 lap, and Randy Kirtley did an exceptional job, not just flat smoking Tom Payton. So that was nice of him. Yes, lucky indeed. Jay Latham there popping off a white, coming right back into white. What a beautiful turn of events for Jay, as Glenn Burton makes a comment, and he was very lucky. Jay Latham currently turning 22 laps, tied with Paul Woosley. Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley there kind of fighting each other between a lap or so. Gabriel Kirtley putting in a 28. Go find out what that was. Something quite loud. I think Glenn said they dropped a chair back there, but man, quite loud. I got to keep an eye on these kids. I need another set of cameras to look. Get a track call again. Jay Latham's car spins out. Quite loud in here when that thing went off. I don't know if you guys heard it over the microphone, but man, that sounded like a bathroom exploded. Hopefully these guys, wasn't eating Taco Bell or something. I know next door you can eat their stuff and, not have those kind of issues. La Cabana, by the way, great Mexican restaurant if you like authentic cuisine, for sure. A lot of people would argue it ain't authentic cuisine, it's Tex-Mex. Well, you know what? That's the majority of Mexican restaurants or Brazilian restaurants here in the United States. So what I consider authentic Mexican, I don't really care about the Reddit commenters, for sure. Nonetheless, like I said, they got good food. If you're here in Livermore, Kentucky, and you want to stop and eat a nice place, La Cabana's it, folks. And some friendly staff and waiting staff. You couldn't ask for a nicer group of people, for sure. So stop by and get a burrito nopal and tell them Donnie sent you. Because I'll tell you right now, the burrito nopal there is delicious. And it's not too expensive, though. That's another reason why I like it. So we got a little bit of a cluster of 5 of these racers right now, 5 of the 6. See Tom Payton needing a little bit of a push start there. Don't know how old his motor is, but I do know that this race does tax the motors. By the time this race is done, their motors are scald nog. They're hot enough to burn them. So we definitely push them to the limits with this 5-minute heat. but they hold well. They hold together pretty well, believe it or not. I mean, we had probably 8 or so races before anybody really suffered like tremendous motor loss. So, like I said, they hold together pretty well. Tom Payton running 44 laps, tied with Jay Latham. Are we going to have a battle between Jay and Tom? Looking like it. One on one end of the track, one on the other. Each of them holding their own. Paul Woosley there, 51 laps, your current leader with 455 total laps. 100 laps down from that, Tom Payton. Randy Coakley with 311, Gabriel Coakley 228. Minute and 28 seconds left to go in this round robin heat 6 of 11. Like I said, I need to remind myself that this heat I am going to be checking weight on these guys, making sure everybody's on the up and up. Tom Payton doing a friendly gesture there, putting Jay Latham's car back up on white. And what a beautiful body that is. I wish you guys could see it. I actually think I took a picture of it, showed you guys on Facebook. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I can't remember. He comes off there in the S portion of the track. Glenn Burton quickly getting him put back on. Love how these guys are track marshaling tonight. Paul Woosley slaps it in front of the blue car, David Horton, and he makes it around in a timely fashion. Glenn Burton trying to get Jay Latham put back on. A little bit of a stutter out. Anytime that takes place and you're too aggressive on the trigger, you can always set that using the traction control. If you have a 280, 281, 270, 271, or even the new 208, I believe it is. You can set the traction control to help your cars from not popping out like that whenever they go to stick you back in. And you can still stay in the trigger pretty aggressively. So it just helps you transition that power a little bit. Now this does come at the cost of engine power overall. The more that you have to use, the less engine power overall that you will have. But nonetheless, you can set this if you have an issue with that. I find it easier just to leave it off and just not to forget to just keep off the trigger and just let them get you set. Once they get you set, then you get you put back on. We see our track marshals doing an exceptional job getting these cars put back on tonight. We have got a nice, good flow going here with everybody, and you love to see it. 4 seconds left to go at the end of the heat. All right, racers, before you go to your pits, please bring your cars in here. We need to weigh them things, and as an added benefit, you will get as much time as you need in the pits afterwards. I won't start the track until the last person hooks up. So right now, people are going to come in. They're going to test the weight of their cars. I'm going to leave you guys with the current standings for this week, as they'll change overnight, and I'll see you guys whenever we go back green racing. All right, L&P racers, everybody passed tech, everybody weighed in correct. racers, are you ready? Watch your lights. All right, here we go, back green racing. They're biting at the bit, folks. Just had a conversation with Guillermo just a few seconds ago as he was commenting just like how we was about the black and purple lanes that he had where he just couldn't miss a wreck to save his life. You know, that's racing. It's hard. I said he's just going to have to legitimately hope that Paul, Randy, and Gabriel have large amounts of incidents. But don't leave Tom Payton out of this mix, as he's turning some pretty impressive lap times too. If he can keep the old Lotus there under control tonight, he should be up there for the runnings also. Right now out of the gate, our best median lap time currently is Gabriel Kirtley with a 3.44, now 3.41, followed by a 3.48 of Randy Kirtley, then a 3.62 of Tom Payton. A tie of 3.90 between David Horton and Glenn Burton. And so we see Glenn Burton there getting Randy Kirtley's car put back on black and the purple car of David Horton. Both of them getting involved in some stuff. We see Action Jackson and Synapsis over here, also known as Carson, saying hello. Hello to you. You're almost sour on the button, and Ghost 2 on deck. These guys really coming into their own now, as we can see, running exceptionally when it comes to keeping their cars in line. This is the kind of racing we like to see. There's nice, smooth transitions between these guys. That way all of their fans can definitely lock in and see them race, know about how they stack up compared to other racers. And you know, you can always come back and watch yourself, especially if you're in the race as a racer, to see where that you might be losing a little bit of the time to help yourself better get to that point. Immediately after tonight's race in the LMP Thunder, we're going to jump right into the Rookie Rumble race. That's coming up shortly right after we're done here. Right now it's about 7 o'clock. That's when we're supposed to start it. Like I said, we're making pretty decent time here. You know, the guys had a little bit extra time there to work on their cars and stuff, but like I said, running pretty smooth, very few track calls to be made, and we got some racers ready to jump on that circle track and go. 2 minutes and 56 seconds left to go in this round robin 7 of 11. We're going to start seeing after this heat, we'll be in our round robin 8, which leaves just 3 other heats after that. So that means that everybody at that point would have been on the track, and we get a track call there for Randy Kirtley's car, upended there on the back stretch there. Didn't see exactly how that took place, but man, that was pretty crazy looking. DJ Latham just making sure cars take off. And our car just gets slammed in the back end as that car did not take off. Now that car in question looks to be Paul Woosley and maybe David Horton or Gabriel Kirtley. No, that's Gabriel Kirtley's car. Gabriel Kirtley just got right up into Paul Woosley right there and yard sailed him. Of course, Gabriel Kirtley running for the lead here, averagely speaking. It's going to be tough for him to want to slow down. But also at the same aspect, when the cars get stalled out there, it's brutal because sometimes they start, sometimes they don't. We see one down there, Tom Payton on yellow. I think his car should start, but it's always a good option to put that right tire into the hole, not the left tire. The left tire helps it kick up and makes it where it doesn't want to take off sometimes, especially with cars that have hardly any guide flag washers underneath them. And that's what we're seeing here with Tom Payton's car, as I believe it just got smacked. very disappointing to see. Several of these guys getting involved in incidents here. Of course, Tom Payton definitely not liking to see that, for sure. As we see David Horton and other racers here moving their cars through Dead Man's Corner. Always good to keep those guide flag washers under just because of the high bank. If your car gets stalled there, more guide flag washers underneath the car helps keep those braids in contact. And that's what's causing them not to start, folks. They're just, they're tucked really tight up under that guide flag, and the recess in the bank is pretty much the same as it is the straight stretch, and this causes the cars to be tilted out just a hair where the guide flag is not fully seated in there, making contact with the braid. You see Action Jackson himself in the upper right-hand portion there as he goes to look over his car as he knows his race is coming soon. And right there next to him, we got Dalton, too, as he's got the Corvette that he's been running in the series. Guillermo there, not seeing a car come off. Guillermo doing the best he can. That was like 4 or 5 events taking place at once for Guillermo. Of course, Glenn Burton coming over to see if there's something wrong with the track. It possibly could be from just being run so aggressively through the S-turns. A lot of people driving it too deep ends up causing that braid to roll up right there where it connects. Basically where you see Guillermo rolling it. So there's a line that matches these two pieces together. And right in this area here on all the lanes here, we get some roll up on the braid. So we see Guillermo there doing the best that he can. Guillermo's ready. Looks like he might have got his finger caught up in the braid there. Where it gets rolled up, sometimes that braid kind of sticks up. And nobody likes a good piece of wire stuck in them. Anybody that's messed with wire brushes knows the feeling. I'm sure that's probably what took place there. I think it was said a couple days ago, it wouldn't be bad to have a good old braid party here and just re-braid the whole track. But I mean, really, to be honest, the orange track's braids in actually pretty good condition, other than a few spots where people drive it a little deep. It still runs smooth, and I mean, it's been there for 20-something years. Good braid. Now, I will say this: the oval track, we might need to have a braid party, as it's not recessed whatsoever, and just being where it's right there on the surface level, the guide flags really chew it up and rip it up. And we've had to replace a few sections of braid in it before. Randy Kirtley coming completely off there. Guillermo Sire, quick on the button to get that done. Guillermo Kirtley turning a total of 60 laps so far this heat. We've had several track calls here. It's like nobody's wrecking in the spot they need to wreck. They're all wrecking in the spots where track calls need to be made. Get another car coming off from the horseshoe. Here's the dinosaur there. Paul Woosley about probably lost his car there. Coming off on White Lane there through the horseshoe portion of the track. Coming up this fall, we got an exciting new series coming up. It's going to be dirt related. I believe it's going to be super late models, and a hard hit there from underneath. Several cars getting busted up under there. Maybe a full-fledged guide flag busted off, who knows? 30 seconds is what Paul Woosley gets. Timer starting now. Guillermo Sire's perfectly on time. I counted that with a pin. Congratulations to Guillermo Sire for keeping the time perfectly. 30 seconds, that's what you get, folks. Paul Woosley yet again having some struggles there with his car as it got ram jammed. We'll see if he's able to get that fixed in a timely fashion and get back out there. But this is going to cost him for sure. 59 seconds left to go. Kind of wish it was only 5 seconds left to go. Probably wouldn't hurt as bad, but nonetheless, that's racing, folks. As Paul Woodley comes back out, he's going to try to get a couple more laps. If I was him, I'd put it on the back stretch where there's no incidents. Now we get a track call. He can get his car put back on, and things will be up on the up and up. We'll see how things roll.
Get ready.
This kind of goes to show you the kind of caliber of men that we have here. They like to keep things fair, and I love keeping things fair. You don't have any issues whatsoever when you keep things fair. Paul Woosley, they're going to grab his car again as he's suffering from another issue unknown with his car. Seems like when it rains, it pours. That's what it's doing here at Lanes Raceway, too, right now. The thunder is rolling, the lightning striking, and the rain is pouring. A while ago, it was pouring straight down, and I'm talking big drops, hard drops, flooding drops. I guess we needed the rain. Did we need it all at once? Probably not, but nonetheless, I'm sure the corn's loving it. I'd heard a little bit before from Robert and Clay that, you know, the corn was drying, and it was getting a little bit too dry, and then they got that rain right when they needed it, so that's good. That it's getting enough rain. Hopefully everything works out perfectly in their favor, because I'll tell you right now, I love food, and you know, when the farmers don't have a good go of it, we don't have a good go of it. It costs more. Paul Woosley there, 77.3 is his average, 76.5 average for Tom Payton, 70.7 average for Jay Latham. Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley there on another little bit of a level there. 84.4, 84.5. In third place there we got Guillermo Sire with 78.4. So, you know, Paul Woosley took a pretty big hit there, only experiencing 58 laps there on White Lane. That was pretty harsh for him, as that knocked him out of the 80s for sure. But we'll be going back into live racing here shortly. Going to leave you here with a little bit of pinball scores and be right back with you. All right, we're back racing. We see Alicia also called the twin. Glad to hear you back commentating for a live stream, Donovan. I appreciate that, Alicia. I do try to do as much as I can, but I can't leave the old wife hanging some days, and I hate to make the guys run an extra 7 heats or something when we just don't have the guys to run. But here tonight, we're back to 11. I think 11 is about the limit of what I want to run heat-wise for this series. So, you know, the more the merrier in our series, and as you can tell tonight, I don't know if you just now started tuning in, but, I mean, these guys have been running quite well. Pretty good heats. I mean, we started a little bit after 5:30. Here it is 7:11. So it's running pretty good. Here we are on 8 of 11. And we sure do like it whenever it runs nice and consecutive like this. Not having too many issues. Now, if you just caught Paul Woosley, he was running up for the lead there. He had some pretty suffering damage there the last heat. He ran his car off deep into Dead Man's Corner, ended up losing about 20 or 30 laps. That was pretty detrimental and knocked him from the 80s on average to the 70s. We see there David Horton's car coming off on black, and we get another car coming off. Glenn Burden's. Glenn tried his best to get his car back on there. He's got plenty of time to get her back on there now. Guillermo Sire doing a great job behind the button. He's had to experience quite a few weird things happen to him just in the past couple of heats there. So run around there and get that car put on. Black lane for David Horton. David Horton having a little bit of an issue coming through the old horseshoe there. We got the car underneath the bridge there. Looks like he got put back on. Guillermo Sire, I mean, he's having to do some sprinting back and forth. I do commend him for the work he's doing here. Get a couple more cars causing an issue there. Jay Latham picking up the slack there, his secondary on the button. I'm sure Guillermo appreciated that because there was no way he could have got to that one on the backstretch. That was Glenn Burden that got involved a little bit in that incident. Yeah, we had some high banks issues take place during his time, and we've even did a breakdown earlier this stream about, you know, when's the right time to get back into it under Dead Man's Corner. But so far tonight, Dead Man's Corner not been too much of a big issue, or at least cars, you know, having to come off on underneath the bridge there. The main issue tonight has, for some reason or another, been the horseshoe. And it's kind of funny how all the racers kind of flow together, and they find them just this spot they want to wreck at. And tonight it's been the exit of the horseshoe or the beginning of the horseshoe. So interesting to see how that all worked out. Track-wise, we did a good fresh gluing. I did turn the lights from the flashing lights of what I call Miami lights. So on the lid, down the backstretch there, looks to be Glenn Burden's car as he come off and hooked a little bit. See David Horton there helping out, getting his car put back on green. So Gabriel Kirtley saying the track got rolled up there. Of course, this is the job of the track marshals went out there. Definitely not something you want to run your finger across. These braids, they definitely do come up and they'll kind of splinter out. And if you run your fingers across it, a lot of times it'll run right up in your fingernail. Does not feel good. I think that's what probably happened to Guillermo earlier when he was messing with Red Lane. I think he ran his finger across there and he got one of those little tiny hairs to roll up in him. Kind of feels like a needle at the doctor's office. Not good at all. Get another track call there for some reason or another. The car just popping out, possibly because the braids are just a little bit too high. Gmail's rolling through here. Definitely don't want that now while we're doing a live race. But yeah, tonight we got some pretty good current standings here right now. Randy Kirtley, Bruce Bullington, Glenn Burden, and Paul Woosley all have their 8 races. Everybody else not dropping races tonight. Going back green racing. We can see that Tom Payton out there in first place right now on Orange Lane, turning 38 total laps. Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley battling it out with 45 and 43. It's all a moment of resolve there, as I'm sure Guillermo Sauer and Paul Woosley, our 2 track marshals, are hoping that Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley both get involved in some detrimental wrecks to kind of push them back down to their level. Right now, Gabriel Kirtley and Randy Kirtley, the only ones in 80 lap averages. Everybody else in the upper 70s. So Paul Woosley and Guillermo Sire are in the upper 70s, 77, 78 laps respectful. Everybody else somewhere in the mid 70s, lower 70s. See Randy Kirtley pushing just a little too hard there on yellow as he kind of stepped that back end out, causing him to come on and kick out. Gabriel Kirtley on a fresh set of tires there. That seems to be working quite well for him as he got him a new set of JK 765s to put on his car. As he rolls around the donut portion of the bridge, we see Guillermo Sire there trying his best. And Glenn Burton having a horrible time trying to get his car put back in on green. Guillermo was giving him enough time to do it, but he just couldn't get that guide flag straightened up. A lot of times guys have issues with that. They got their guide flag nut just a little too tight, or their guide flag stripped out from cross-threading the nut. But, you know, it's always best sometimes just to leave her loose. I like to use a little bit of blue Loctite. I think I've told Glenn about that before, but this may be a new guide flag for all I know. If it's a new guide flag, it probably needs to be sanded down there right at the portion of the base. Could be a bent front portion of the chassis, and if it's bent a little bit sideways, it'll kind of bind it up a little bit too. Do a little bit of three-way trail here as we go up under the bridge. We knew that was going to end in bad luck as all three of them trying to run up and hope that all three of their backs slid together. That was a no-go for sure. Randy Kirtley there with 68 total laps turned there. Gabriel Kirtley 3 laps down from that. 51 and 51 tied with David Horton and Glenn Burton there on black and green, and Tom Payton 57 total laps there at the top. 1 minute and 10 seconds left to go in this heat. We got some hardcore racing going on. Kind of focus in there on Randy Kirtley just to show you how quick you can come around that donut portion of the track, and you can see he's just hammering it down. Now, Randy Kirtley is one of the risk takers here on this track. As we all know about the blip stations of red, white, and green by now. Randy Kirtley does not run front guide washers to keep that nose up off the ground just a hair. Instead, he relies on that front downforce of his body, and he just hammers it home. Now, sometimes this spells disaster, especially in the upper portions of the lanes, and here lately, black and purple. But nonetheless, he's holding it down, and you can see it's paying off in fold there around the donut, as it almost looks like he's going full speed around the donut. But I assure you, it's a gradual increase of a locked rear end, essentially, that is allowing him to kind of stutter around that way. Sometimes this doesn't negate into stuttering, but instead, sometimes it's just a nice smooth transition as long as you're peeling the wheels just at the perfect amount of speed. And I think that's what's taking place with Gabriel Kirtley and Randy Kirtley while they're able to capitalize on going around so quickly there. We get a red flag rotation there. We see the end there. Randy Kirtley now reaching the 90s here, folks. I think it's the first time I've seen a 90 hit. Randy Kirtley hit it tonight here with yellow lane. So congratulations to Randy Kirtley for almost holding it wide open, it looked like, on yellow. So whatever he done this past week to get that car to turn 90 laps, exceptional. It's the first time I've seen these cars run 90 laps on a 5-minute heat. So that's increased him up pretty good. He's right there in the runnings with Gabriel Kirtley now, 85.3, 85.6 respectively between the two. Guillermo Sauer and Paul Woosley still neck and neck with each other there, 77.3 and 78.4. As we got a round robin 8 of 11 down in the history books here. We can go back over and check out the standings, and I'll be right back with you. And we're back. So here we are, 9 heats of 11 done. And now we're going to start seeing people, they're going to be staying out from here on out in this portion.
Get ready.
No, I don't actually see it. So my wife has made messages both on Facebook and on YouTube. And so far, I don't see it. So I'm going to go into settings here, see what's going on here. Do not know why it ain't showing up. Nonetheless, it is not showing up. So it looks like right now, Twitch is about the only thing that's coming through for some reason. It says it's all connected, but it isn't. So she's watching it. If you do want to make a comment or something on YouTube or Facebook, you can definitely do so. It's just a rare occasion. She's not having a track marshal. She can answer your questions and relay them to me, and maybe I can answer them if she can't. See the great hands from Jay Latham there, getting the cars put back on. Also Paul Woosley, quick to get those cars put back on. We're already down to 3 minutes and 52 seconds here in this heat. And the sunlight's trying to come back out here at Lanes Raceway. Almost got a greenish hue outside from the storms and stuff nearby. Jay Latham quick to get that car back on. What a hand he done there, ladies and gentlemen. That almost looks like he did it in wizard mode. Straight just gifted that car to its lane. So 3 minutes and 30 seconds before we had really a track call. We can see Randy Kirtley out in the lead with 25 total laps, tied up with Gabriel Kirtley with a median of 3.38 and a best lap of 3.286. That's smoking fast, folks. If you can get your car to go 3.286 here at Lanes Raceway, you'll be very, very competitive. We can see that Paul Woosley's rolling down the track right there on yellow for David Horton. As he might be experiencing some issues there for his track. Also on blue, Glenn Burton getting his stuff rolled down there for the best lap of a 3.77. On average, it's about what you see, 3.7, 3.6, even 3.8 range. That's what you mostly see for the guys. Now, if you can run those consistently speaking, I mean, it's pretty quick. It seems like the track itself kind of votes up a little bit when we get more people on it and they're able to run in those 3.2s, 3.3s. But by yourself on the track, it seems somewhere around 3.8, 3.9 is usually what I see. But these guys are running in 3.6s, 3.2s. I mean, they're in the 3-second range there for sure. And that just all boils down to how much are they going to push it. We can see Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley really pushing it as they're now in second and third place. Tom Payton is going to be coming out after this heat. He's at 565 total laps of 30. And he's cranking it as much as he can, and respectfully so. Tom Payton doing quite a well job here tonight, running a best lap of 3.634. These other guys, you know, just really hammering it home, seeing what the car can hold. That's why I always advise guys to come and say, you know, spend as much time as you can. If you've got the time, spend it. Try to learn how to run those 3.2s. You know, you're going to wreck your car a lot. You're going to have a lot of issues. But, you know, figuring it out. But eventually you'll figure it out, and you'll be able to run fast like that. It's all about car setup, making sure it's straight, smooth, and straight, and, you know, nice and oiled up and everything like that. And the rest of it's just trigger control, folks. And being able to have a mindset of aggression is key, all while maintaining under control. I guess the old adage, the Bible would say, the meek shall inherit the earth. You got to have a meek mindset. You got to know how to kill with the sword, but at the same time, you got to have a mindset to be able to withhold that. So, you know, that's what Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley, and now it seems to be Paul Woosley here recently, except mindful of his wrecks and stuff, and also Guillermo Sires. They've all possessing that here lately, running into those upper 3.3 best lap times. So, you know, it's all about getting back in the trigger when you can. You got to do it quick, because if you don't, you know, you're coming out. That's the key. Just all about that flow and keeping those cars nice and flowing good. You can run a nice, consistent, flowy type race and hold it around the donut and run for, you know, probably second or third place. But you're not going to make it to first unless you're above that pace. And as we can see, these guys tonight are running exceptional. They're keeping the cars on. Very few wrecks taking place. We see Tom Payton right now during the race. He's trying to learn that rhythm to get up there tight again. We know Tom Payton has it in him, as we've seen him compete with Wally and Randy Kirtley there before in the wing car race. I've probably told you guys this before. Come back and beat him by 6 laps. Now, he did have an exceptional car, but, you know, that's half of it, folks. Having an exceptionally straight car, well-built car is what actually gets these guys to those upper portions. You know, once you've mastered the ability to keep your car on, then it's like, how can I make my car faster? I love to see it. I love to see these guys progressing. I love to see them all staying within the 3-second lap times here. So 3.85 is 3.87 is the highest lap time right now with David Horton on medium, and it goes all the way down to, like I said, 3.36 is the medium. So, you know, you're looking, how do I get that 0.5 tenths of a second that these other racers are getting per lap? That's what you're looking for. You're not looking to get an extra second faster than that, so don't overdrive the tires. Find a way to get a tenth at a time. If you can get a tenth at a time, you can consistently get a tenth at a time, you'll eventually get there, because once you get something nailed down in your brain and its muscle memory, then from that point you can make micro changes to get the rest. And I think you're looking at probably about as fast as these cars can turn there at a 3.210 there by Randy Kirtley. Now that's the end of round robin heat 9 of 11, and we can see that Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley there in the middle 80s there. Like I said, Randy Kirtley breaking the 90 factor there on yellow. So yellow looking to be like the fastest lane here tonight. Gabriel Kirtley yet to have run that lane, but we can see Gabriel Kirtley here running right up there to it. So his chance to get it will possibly be coming up here next. Coming up here on his last heat. But Randy Kirtley, he's still got one more heat to run there on white lane. We see Tom Payton finishing out his run there at 614 laps, 76.8. That's probably fourth best tonight, I would say. So 76, 77, 79, 85, 86. So yeah, about fourth best tonight. So he's not done too bad when it comes to averagely speaking here. Some of the other guys kind of suffering some loss there, having a little bit of trouble with their cars. But nonetheless, I'm going to leave you guys here with the current standings. If you want to, get a picture of this. Don't forget to do so. A minute and 45 seconds, we'll be back green racing. All right, back in the booth. I'm just taking a quick look there at Guillermo Sire's car there on green. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like every race we've had somebody representing America. Guillermo Sire currently running a Cadillac here, ladies and gentlemen, in his LMP car. And It's a very nice one. He's got that front nose, I mean, laid down. It looks like Clay Dane's car in our series. That puppy is laid on the track. Had a conversation there too. You might have seen me in your upper right-hand portion of your screen. Actually, you didn't. You've seen scene 3, which is our current times. But I had a conversation with Gabriel Kirtley, and I said, is all you done to that car from being fresh out of the box from Mid-America is hootie them tires? Because I know that's all he's really done today to that car is pulled his tires off and hootied them. Of course, he got a new set of tires, but he hootied them back flat right out of the box. He said, that's it. And he said he believes Randy Kirtley is falling apart. And I said, well, you know, he didn't hootie his tires. I said he probably should have thought about that and got them babies hootied before he got in the race. Right now, Randy Kirtley is your leader, but he's coming out after this heat. And Gabriel Kirtley is going to get one more heat after that. But we know you can run about 100 laps or so, right at it, 80 or 90 laps. So it's going to be interesting to see what Gabriel Kirtley can turn on yellow. Randy Kirtley was able to turn 90 laps last heat, and we can see Gabriel Kirtley now currently 20 laps, the highest out of everybody else. Everybody else, other than Jay, is around the 19-20 range. Jay Latham there on red lane. It's to be expected to be a little bit slower on the draw there on Dead Man's Corner to stay in. And I believe that was Jay that just popped out there underneath Dead Man's Bridge. Nonetheless, Jay getting used to his new body, and I'll tell you what, it's the best looking body of them all out there. It's a Porsche. But I don't know, folks. We'll see how things shape up as we continue on here. Our 2 track marshals now. Tom Payton quick on the draws. He gets the car put back on the orange. That would be David Horton's car. David Horton not actually in the series, but he loves coming up in here and running with the guys. And, you know, he pays a little bit extra money to do so. So you can always come and race in our Pro Series, but it costs you $5 more to enter the race. Now, the reason that is we want people to, of course, come and race. We want them actually to be in the series. And if they don't, you know, they just got to pay the little extra cost. That's a positive thing about the guys that are in the series, right? So they pay an entry fee to get in the series, and sometimes it's pretty substantial, so that we can pay them out good at the end of the series and have nice prizes for them and stuff like that. But then on top of that, you know, they get to come and race a little bit, practice before the race even starts, about 30 minutes or so. And that's all free for them because of that. So if you don't do that and you still participate in it, you got to pay a little bit extra of the tax, you know, basically $5 for track time. But David Horton, you know, he progressively gets better and better each week. And, you know, if any time he wanted to get in before we started, we could always go back and tally up his races that he's previously won. Now, of course, we wouldn't refund his $5, but, you know, we could go back there and check out if he wanted to get in the series and add him to the tally and see if he could place up in the upper portions of how many people's racing. Like right now, we got maybe 12 or 13 people in this series. So, you know, the way David runs, he runs pretty well. He's right up there in 4th place currently, and he's holding his own. So one more heat left to go. We can see right now he's right at 10 laps ahead of Glenn, about 20 laps ahead of Jay Latham. So David Horton's cars definitely run good. He does sometimes get caught up in some wrecks with other people, but that's what's been happening with everybody all night long. Guillermo Sire would definitely say that his purple and black lanes, he was catching everybody. And this happens. That's racing, you know. On the oval track, it's red and white. On this one, it just tends to be black and purple because most people wreck under the bridge. So, depending on how hard you're moving and motivating and coming up underneath Dead Man's Corner, it could spell disaster. We seen last week there the bad turn of events for Glenn Burton as he sent it off in there selling and ended up separating his front guide flag. He ended up just backing off and just coming out of the race at that point, but he was still able to gain 10 laps from his previous race. So a little bit extra better for Glenn, and that's why these guys come in and race as many races as they can. They want to always capitalize and get a little bit better each time. And I think for sure tonight, Glenn Burton's definitely going to hit that mark above 510 laps. As we got 2 minutes left in this, and he's moving to his favorite lane coming up next on black. We're going to see Glenn definitely approach that before the end of this heat. So keep an eye out there for him and see how things work. But all night tonight, we have had people have issues there with purple and black lane. Another car up under the bridge. Somebody keeps coming off. Who that is?
Get ready.
Somebody was off. Might have been Jay. No, Jay's there on the start-finish line. All right. With David Horton there on orange.
Get ready.
Everybody kind of getting a little bit off rhythm here. As there's been a few wrecks in a row. We'll see if they can get that rhythm pulled back in. Right now we can see Guillermo Sire there, 57 total laps. Gabriel Kirtley 62, Randy Kirtley 59. Randy and Guillermo right there with each other. Gabriel Kirtley just really separating it out there on black as this car really holds with those new tires. Those new tires are JK6 965s. So those are fish rubber tires that he's running. And he might start a trend here. Now those are the big hubs, so there's not very much meat. You're not going to get very many races out of those tires. But at the same aspect, there's not a whole lot of side-to-side sway in those. And I think maybe that's where he might be capitalizing on catching a little bit of a gain on these people. Because now our track's a whole lot smoother. You don't need that extra rubber for the variations in where the track is pieced together. So, you know, those lower profile tires, even though they're harder, they're able to transition through corners a lot quicker because there's not a whole lot of side slop. Essentially, if you look at bigger tires, they kind of do this, you know, whereas the lower profiles, they're doing that, but they're doing it at a micro level. So, you know, the bigger hub tires, if you was to look at the hubs, you know, they'd be like this. They just have that little bit of meat there. It kind of pulls around. But the big hub tires, you know, of course, or the small hub tires, they're little video hubs and a whole lot of meat, you know. So they kind of look like that in perspective. What's good, though, is if there's an imperfection in a track, like you say there, you know, that amount of tire will absorb that imperfection. Whereas with this one, it's straight to the wheels, which is straight to the axle, and that causes the car to come off. So we got Synapsis, also known as Carson. He says, this is entertaining while waiting to race and while you're in the same building. Well, thank you. Thank you, Carson. Carson, of course, my cousin. We got a little bit of a scramble up happening there as the computer goes to catch itself back up. At the end of that heat, we can kind of see the averages here. Randy Kirtley, 85 total laps. Gabriel Kirtley, 86.3 on average. Tom Payton, 76.8, still holding down second place there with 614. Gabriel Kirtley got one more heat left to go. He's going to have to make at least 80 or above, which I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility, being that Randy Kirtley there turning 90 total laps. Guillermo Sire, 79.9. He's actually increasing his average. Probably not going to be able to pull it off, though, as Gabriel's probably on the fastest lane coming up here as we end round 10 of 11. I'm going to take you guys here to the current standings as of now, and you can take a picture of this for the current update. And after this few-minute reprieve, we're going to get into our last and final heat, and we're going to kind of focus on our top three. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it always boils down to the final heat, and we're going to see what's going to happen here as we see what comes out of that bowling pot. We see a slide out of there from Jay Latham's car as he gets put back on green, and he's going to be able to make his lap here shortly. Gabriel Curley able to make 2 laps, just 1 so far. Guillermo Sire right there behind him, 40 laps down. Not going to be able to make that pass here currently. But we've seen here before how things can go awry. If Gabriel's car ends up burning up or taking more than 30 seconds to fix, it can change very, very quickly here with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. 3.41 is his median. He's a good 0.04 of a second faster than anybody out there on the track, followed by Guillermo Sire with 3.42. Like I said, these guys are all in the threes, ladies and gentlemen. They're running hard out there, trying to get that little bit extra of a tenth, trying to get that little bit extra of a rhythm. And I do believe, Glenn Burton really made an effort to grab that car, but the track was hit in good time. Randy Kirtley quick on the button. They don't call him Octopus Arms for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. When he hears track, he hits buttons. And he was able to save Glenn, but hopefully Glenn's hand's not hurting him now as he reached out there and tried to grab it off the track. Probably would have done more damage to the car than if it would have kind of hit that angled wall there currently where he popped off onto yellow lane. But nonetheless, Glenn Burton back on black in good fashion, and we're going back green racing. Randy Kirtley hitting the button, and Paul Woosley there, 555 laps. The number of prayer, get to praying for sure. These guys are going to need to move up to get to Gabriel Kirtley or Randy Kirtley, both in the upper 80. The question is, will Gabriel Kirtley be able to reach that 90 mark like Randy Kirtley did, or will Randy Kirtley be able to hold that as a little bit of a treasure to himself, being the first one to hit 90? Now, if Gabriel Kirtley hits 90, I guess technically it would be a tie, but really not, because the computer is random. He could have hit 90 last week, and he didn't. So, nonetheless, Randy Kirtley is our first one to hit 90. We can see Gabriel Kirtley running into that type of time frame that Randy did. He's not in the 3.2s, but he did run a best lap of a 3.081. Ladies and gentlemen, that is mail hauling. Gabriel Kirtley's car is hooking there on yellow as he looks like he's running wide open around the yellow portion of the track. Excited to see it, love to see it. 3 minutes and 9 seconds left to go in this round robin 11 of 11. We see Tom Payton out there on the donut portion being quick-handed also. A veteran here now at Lanes Raceway, here in at least a couple days. August the 4th being our 1-year anniversary here at Lanes Raceway, and I know Tom Payton was here like the second day we were open. So Tom Payton can no longer be called a rookie here at Lanes Raceway. And he doesn't deserve to be called that anyway, as he has progressed so much in the following year. Just a little bit of accolades for him for sure. All of these guys have progressed quite a bit. But Tom, of course, you guys know, hold a little special place in my heart as he's always down here hanging out with me. Him and Glenn both. And, of course, Glenn, I remember back in the basement days, I could usually put it on everybody but Dad and Gabriel. But now I'm getting to the point where Glenn and me, we're right there neck and neck. So, Glenn's come an extremely long way, too, especially in the speed progression. And also branching out in different car categories. Of course, back in the basement days, we all mostly ran GRC or FCRs. But now, Glenn's stepping up into the 4-inch, learning the technology, learning how to set up his cars. I've just been very, very extremely excited for him to learn all that stuff too. Of course, he's been around racing his whole life, so he knows how to stagger those cars out. Him and Gabriel and Dad running the dirt together. And Guillermo Sire too, he doesn't get to come as much as he did back in the basement days. But when he comes in here, he's always putting up a show and showing the guys how it's done. Paul Woosley, he's been here since the beginning too. I remember back when I was a kid riding in his bicycle front basket, and he used to race down there with Dad on the Blue King there at the old chair factory. David Horton, brand new friend here. Love to see him out here racing. And then, of course, Jay Latham, grew up with him my whole life, playing video games and everything. And he was also racing with us there at Slot City for the longest time. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and this round 11 of 11 is going to come to a close. We can see Gabriel Kirtley there with not a very pleasant number to see, but a pleasant number to see nonetheless for sure, as it reminds you that 666, there is a mark of the beast, so remember that. Look it up in your Bible. We see right there Glenn Burden's car coming off and getting in somebody else's lane as he gets smoked there through the S portion of the track. Paul Woodley there in third place with 600 laps. Guillermo Sire putting up the best race that he possibly could there so far with 626, just needing Gabriel Kirtley to have his car come off and be done for. Randy Kirtley quick to hit that track call button as quick as he can, and we love to see it. David Horton there, 572. Every week that he comes and races, we see him getting better and better also. Jay Latham there with his new body, having a little bit of an issue there. Usually does quite a bit better there, but we'll see if he can work those issues out come next week. But yeah, everybody here doing quite well. All of them in the 3-point-something range for their medians. That tells me these guys all racing somewhat neck to neck. We see Randy Kirtley there rolling down the track there as the braids kind of rolled up just a smidgen. He's rolling down white and green. So white and green be David Horton and Jay Latham. We also see Paul Woodley throwing something on the track there as a gift or an homage, but Randy Kirtley quickly gives it back, unknown to what that was. Maybe go back and review that later on to see what it was. All right, so go back green racing. We got 42 seconds left to go. We see Jay Latham's car kicking out just a little bit there. You know, that's something I also want to bring to mention is that Tom Payton's doing some interesting stuff with his tire selection. He's mixing and matching his tires together and hoodieing. It just goes to show you how important it is to hoodie your tires. It's Gabriel Kirtley running on a fresh set of hoodie tires here. I think that's something that guys haven't been doing as much as they should here lately, and I think it's costing them tenths of a second. You know, the squarer your tires are, the better that they roll around the donut portions of the track. But like I said, that's something that a lot of these guys have been skipping on here lately, and we see Gabriel Kirtley brought his own hoodie machine today, and he hoodied up a fresh set right before he got started. You know, you set those things to whatever your gear ratio is, helps your braking, helps your accelerations. We get a rider there on red lane, that red lane being Paul Woodley, but the rider being David Horton off a white lane. Nonetheless, his car is safe for now. 12 seconds left to go in this final heat. Randy Kirtley there is going to click that track button there. We can already see our rookie rumblers over there as we see Dalton staring right at the camera. They're all getting ready. They're devising a plan. I don't know what they're thinking about up there in that upper right-hand portion of the screen, but they're devising something as they're getting ready to get started in their race coming up next. 2 seconds left to go. It looks like Gabriel Kirtley's going to bring this one home, and he did not make it to the 90 laps that Randy Kirtley did, but congratulations to both of them tonight. First place, Gabriel Kirtley with 86.5 average laps, a total laps of 692. Second place, Randy Kirtley with 680 with an average of 85. And Guillermo Sire, even though having a bad purple and black lane, was able to bring it back to 80.6 and get back into his 80 mode with 645 total laps made. My wife's going to take a picture of the total laps here, and I'm going to announce that Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, and Guillermo Sire get pictures made. All right, well, our top three, Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, and Guillermo Sire meet my wife at Victory Lane for a photo opportunity. And I would like to also interview the top three. And be out there shortly. So we're going to go out there and do a little quick interview here. We're going to increase the size of one of our cameras here, if I can find it. And I'll see you out there for the interview.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You break out? Huh? Was it light on the scale?
All I heard when I come out here was he light scales. I don't know. I haven't actually done the scale. But can I get Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, and Guillermo Sire for a picture real quick? And we'll worry about having to change this later because I do have somewhat of up in there. If you do not weigh in correctly, I will remove you from the first place. Guillermo Sire, can I get you over here, Victory Lane? Say cheese. Thank y'all. All right, I want to go over here and talk to the man of the hour, Gabriel Kirtley, for coming out and pulling out a pretty big victory there so far. He wasn't able to hit the 90. I want to talk to Randy about that shortly. Gabriel Kirtley, almost triple eights all night long. Well, we're going to have to start calling you double eights almost all night long. You weren't able to get to Randy Kirtley's 90 tonight. First person here at Lanes Raceway in our L&P Thunder Series tonight on Yellow Lane tonight. He actually breached that 90 limit. We've been waiting on somebody to do it, and he done it tonight. You were a couple laps off from that. Does that make you feel any different about Randy?
No, it don't. He's still Dad, and I knew he was going to be hard to beat. He just had a bad red lane.
He did have a bad red lane. Now, what do you contribute to your victory here today? Why do you believe that you were able to come up above Randy Kirtley in that extra 0.5 of an average there?
Just staying on. That's all you got to do. Avoid the wrecks. As long as we don't have any full J's out on the speedway.
The full J's. For those that don't know, we call them a full-blown J here at Lanes Raceway when all 8 racers wreck out. That's contributed to Jay Latham for being the first one to cause that to happen here at Lanes Raceway when he wiped out the whole field during series play when he tapped into Sam Nelson there a little bit and gave a full-blown J. Well, Gabe, the next time you come back, you think you're going to have to put the spanking back on Randy Kirtley? And also, did everybody weigh in?
I think everybody weighed in. This car was just straight out of the box. You opened it up out of the box, and I put it on the track. So,
yeah, I mean, all I did was literally pull your car out of the box, cut a body, put on it, and then I put 14 grams of weight on it. And then, boom, it was, you're actually 108 grams, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere up there in the higher portions, not 105 dead even. And you're still being able to turn these kind of times. Other than just staying on and your trigger control, is it anything other than that, or are you doing something special with the car?
Well, I haven't done anything to the car other than clean the brushes. I think that everybody trying to run lighter, they can't get through the turns as quick as this heavier car. I lose just a little bit down the straightaway, but it doesn't hurt through the turns whenever I blow back by them.
So kind of similar to the sim racing there at Chicagoland that me and you were running last night. Keep the gasoline in the car. Shut the car off. Let the weight balance back out so that you can get around those corners because, I told the guys earlier, I wish I could have brought that replay here where you pulled that slide job on that dude last lap. But for those that don't know, we did a little sim racing last night, testing out some things for a new computer setup. But nonetheless, he pulled a sweet, smooth action there, and I don't think you would have been able to hold it if you didn't have that weight in the rear end.
Maybe not. I thought I was going to hit the wall anyway.
Well, I think that racing paid off. Thank you, Gabriel Kirtley, for your time. I'm going to come over here and talk to second place here, Randy Kirtley. Randy Kirtley, first here at Lanes Raceway, being able to 90 laps in one heat there on yellow. So accolades to you for breaching the 90 laps. What do you think it was the reason that you couldn't catch Gabriel Kirtley tonight?
Well, he was just too fast. He was turning 88 laps just about in every segment.
So do you think it was an issue with you getting caught up in wrecks, or are you just actually causing some of those wrecks?
Well, it was a combination of both. After I got caught up in some wrecks, it knocked the weight out of my guide flag. Then from that point on, I was a little slower.
All right. Well, Randy, thank you for your time. And also, congratulations on being the first one to hit 90 on the L&P Thunder Series. Guillermo Sire. Third place, man. Not where you want to be. I know when you come here, you come to race for the victory. A little bit of trouble early on in the purple and black lanes. Mm-hmm. Is that the reason why you wasn't running up there with Randy and Gabriel Kirtley?
No, I don't think I could have caught them anyway, but could have been closer maybe. Probably 10 laps behind.
Well, I know they were running a smooth race for sure. Gabriel Kirtley just recently putting on a new set of tires. You burned through the previous set from out of the box. We didn't have any to replace it, so he ended up going to some JK 675 fish tires. And that looked like, man, that really hooked up nice for him today.
Yes, he was a lot quicker than I was around the donut and then the S's. That's where he was making a difference with me.
Well, what do you think you got to do to be able to catch those guys and be right there with them?
I really don't know. I can try to improve my car, but I don't think I can catch them right now. They're faster than I am.
I know they're far ahead of me too right now. They put me to shame. But Guillermo, you ran a great race tonight. You came back where you were averaging 70 from that all race, and those past 3 heats, you got her back up there in 80. So you're right there on the 80 average. That's where it needs to be to successfully win these kind of races. And just congratulations to you. And what an exceptional body you were running there. That futuristic looking body was quite cool out there.
The one I won here, you remember? I picked when you gave those bodies as a prize. That's the one.
All right. Well, I love it. Well, thank you, Guillermo. And I hope to see you come back Thursday or next Sunday for our LMP Thunder Series.
Hopefully, yeah.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that's it for the LMP Thunder Series race here. I'm going to kill this microphone here. Hopefully you guys heard all the interviews that took place for our first, second, and third place. But congratulations to all of our racers today, as I believe they're all going to be able to increase their lap. We're going to get right into the Rookie Rumble race here coming up next.
All right, I'm back here in the booth. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to start up a new stream